flickering candlelight cast long, lugubrious shadows across the mansion's library. I, Detective Amelia Corbin, stood over the body of Mr. Alistair Finch, the city's most celebrated philanthropist. His life had been abruptly and violently curtailed. The room, a veritable treasure trove of literature and art, now felt like a mausoleum. My task, as perspicacious as it was grim, was to sift through the maelstrom of deceit that had descended upon this opulent estate. The local constabulary seemed flummoxed, their preliminary investigation yielding nothing but a panoply of confused expressions. I began my assessment. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting the culprit was someone known to Finch, an insider. The weapon, a heavy, ornate letter opener, lay discarded, its silver handle tarnished with a dark stain. The scene was almost too perfect, too staged. It felt like a deliberate attempt to obfuscate the truth. I surveyed the guests huddled in the grand hall, a collection of family, friends, and business associates, each a potential suspect. Their faces a mixture of shock and carefully constructed sorrow. Mendacity hung in the air, thick and cloying. My first interrogation was with Eleanor, Finch's much younger, effervescent wife. She claimed to be in the garden, admiring the nocturnal blooms, a specious alibi if I ever heard one on such a cold, damp night. Her grief seemed performative, a histrionic display that felt more like an audition than a genuine expression of loss. She spoke of her husband's munificence, his generosity to the city, but her eyes were furtive, darting around the room as if seeking an escape. Her words were a prolix stream of platitudes, lacking any real substance. I noted her evasiveness, a red flag in a sea of them. Next was Julian, Finch's nephew and heir apparent. His demeanor was one of studied nonchalance, a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation. He spoke with a certain hauteur, claiming he was in his room, perusing a tome on ancient philosophy. He portrayed his uncle as a benevolent, almost saintly figure, but I detected a subtle undercurrent of resentment. Julian had a penchant for profligate spending, a habit his uncle vociferously condemned. The tension between them was an open secret. Was his calm a sign of innocence, or the cold composure of a killer? His alibi was tenuous at best, and his attitude did little to assuage my suspicions. Then came Marcus, Finch's longtime business partner. A stoic and taciturn man, Marcus spoke in clipped sentences. He explained that he and Alistair had a disagreement earlier in the evening over a new, risky venture. Marcus considered it fiscally imprudent, while Alistair, ever the idealist, saw it as a chance to innovate. Marcus insisted he had retired to the conservatory to cool off, alone. His account was concise, but it also painted a clear picture of conflict. The motive was palpable, a schism in their business empire that could have profound financial repercussions. I spent the next hour meticulously re-examining the library, hoping to find an overlooked clue, some tiny anomaly that would cut through the web of lies. My eyes scanned the shelves, the furniture, the very fabric of the room, and then I saw it. Tucked beneath a voluminous armchair was a small desiccated leaf, a species of fern I recognized from the mansion's conservatory, the same conservatory where Marcus claimed to have been. But there was something else. Adhering to the leaf was a minuscule fleck of gold. It was almost invisible to the naked eye, a tiny, glittering speck of hope. I remembered something from my brief conversation with Eleanor. I had noticed her ostentatious jewelry, particularly a pair of intricate, leaf-shaped gold earrings. One of them had a small, almost imperceptible flaw, a tiny piece missing from the edge. It was a long shot, a tenuous connection, but in a case built on whispers and shadows, it was the most concrete thing I had. The pieces began to coalesce, forming a picture that was both shocking and tragically coherent. I gathered the three main suspects, Eleanor, Julian, and Marcus, back in the library. The air was thick with anticipation. I addressed them all, my voice calm but firm. I explained that while the motives were abundant, Julian's profligacy, Marcus's business dispute, the physical evidence pointed in a different, more surprising direction. I turned to Eleanor. You claimed you were in the garden, I began, but the ground is damp. Your shoes, however, are perfectly clean. An incongruous detail, wouldn't you say? Her face paled. You weren't in the garden, and you weren't in the conservatory as Marcus was. You were right here. I held up the small evidence bag containing the fern leaf and the gold fleck. This leaf was found here in the library, likely carried in on the killer's shoe. And this microscopic gold fragment? It matches the gold from the earring you are wearing, Eleanor. The one with the tiny piece missing. A collective gasp filled the room. Eleanor's composure finally shattered. The histrionics vanished, replaced by a raw, unadulterated panic. He was going to leave me, she cried, her voice cracking. He discovered my indiscretions. He was going to amend his will, leave me with nothing. His munificence had its limits, you see. He was not a saint. He was a pragmatist. She confessed everything. The argument had escalated. In a fit of truculent rage, she had seized the letter opener. Her alibi was a hastily constructed fiction, a specious attempt to deflect suspicion. The benevolent philanthropist had a private side, one that was far less charitable. And his wife's own avarice had led to his demise. The truth, as it so often does, was a sordid and lamentable affair, born from greed and a profound lack of forbearance. With the confession secured, the constabulary took Eleanor into custody. The oppressive atmosphere in the mansion began to lift, replaced by a somber sense of closure. My job was done. The maelstrom had passed, leaving a somber quiet in its wake. As I walked out into the pre-dawn light, I reflected on the ephemeral nature of wealth and the enduring power of human fallibility. It was a sobering reminder that behind every grand facade, secrets and lies often lurk, waiting for a perspicacious eye to bring them into the light. Thank you for joining me on this case. I hope you picked up a few new words along the way. Be sure to subscribe for more mysteries and vocabulary adventures. Until next time.